Welcome to another episode of Legitimate Matters. This conversation today is so important. We're going to be talking about the Alzheimer's disease crisis, specifically in the African American community. I'm so happy today to welcome my guest, Dr. Christiane Rice, who is the Assistant Professor of Neurology and Epidemiology in the Taub Institute at Columbia University Medical Center in New York City. Dr. Rice, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the invitation, William. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here. You and I have had several conversations, and we've talked about this crisis. And for my viewers, as we begin, can you just tell us what are the statistics with African Americans and Alzheimer's disease, and how really serious is this?
So Alzheimer's disease is really one of the public health crises worldwide. So it really affects people on all continents, people of all ethnic groups. In general, about the risk increases by age. Mm-hmm. If you look at people at the age of 60, there are about 10% of seniors affected, but it significantly increases with age. And then if you look at people over the age of 80 or 85, you have almost two-thirds of seniors affected.
Wow.
So it really is a public health crisis across the board in all ethnic groups.
Two-thirds is a really
it's
big
a big
number.
issue. It's really, yeah.
And it's increasing.
It's increasing because the society is getting older.
Wow.
People survive longer because other diseases like heart disease or cancers are we're able to treat them better, so people survive longer, and that's why more and more people now are getting Alzheimer's disease.
Well, is there a difference, or this show is really about raising awareness specifically with African Americans, and but how does those numbers compare to Hispanics versus whites, and why is this something that African Americans and Hispanics in particular should really pay more attention to?
So African Americans have twice the risk of Alzheimer's disease compared to whites, and also the risk is a little bit higher compared to Hispanics. So Hispanics have about 1.5 the risk of whites, and African Americans have actually twice the risk of Alzheimer's disease compared to whites. So it really is particularly a particular concern in the African American communities. The reason why that is the case is something we really need to find out. We probably have some idea. We know that, for example, African Americans have a higher frequency of what we call vascular disease, which is diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, and stroke. And we know that all these are increasing the risk of Alzheimer's disease. So because these risk factors are more frequent in African Americans, that probably is part of the explanation why also the risk of Alzheimer's disease is particularly high in African Americans. But that is not, it's clear that that's not the full answer to that. And we need to find out all the other risk factors which increase the risk of Alzheimer's disease in African Americans, so that we can really fully explain this extensive risk African Americans have.
Is it more prone to men versus women, or vice versa? Does it affect women more?
It does affect women more, and that is the case in all ethnic groups. And that's another big area of research right now, to see if it what the reasons for that are. If it's something genetic, which is specifically to women, or for example, if it's related to hormones, which might be a difference. And that's something we don't have the answer yet, but there's a lot of research going on to understand this. Two-thirds are women, 1/3 are men.
Wow, 2/3.
Yes. So that's really a big difference.
So we're saying 2/3 are women, which is alarming.
Yeah.
And we're also saying that 2/3, if I caught that right, of African Americans. Did I catch that right?
2/3 are women. So of the people who have Alzheimer's disease, 2/3 are women, 1/3 are men. In terms of African Americans compared to other groups, African Americans have twice the risk compared to whites to develop Alzheimer's disease.
So that's to me, I consider those numbers to be alarming, very alarming, and even more alarming than the statistics of African Americans being affected by this disease is the lack of participation in the research, which is just shocking and unfortunate. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So what we know is that also because we see the differences in risk between the different ethnic groups, there must clearly differences in risk factors,
Sure.
or differences in reasons why African Americans are so immensely affected. And because of that, it's extremely important to do the research we're doing, research on Alzheimer's disease reasons in the different ethnic groups separately. So there's been a lot of studies going on in whites. There's been more and more studies going on in Hispanics, but there's a significant lack of research in African Americans. But it's crucial that we do research specifically in African Americans and separately in order to really understand what the mechanisms are which lead to this high risk of Alzheimer's disease in African Americans. And I think an important point to understand is that you cannot just take findings from research in whites or in Hispanics and just extrapolate them to the African American community.
It has to be specific.
It has to be specific. And one of the reasons is that we believe that genetic risk factors play a role.
Okay.
And the DNA and the way the DNA is made up and the genes are made up, there are differences between ethnic group. I'm not going to go into that because it's very difficult to explain
Sure.
that. But because of these differences in the genes between ethnic groups, it's extremely important to do especially genetic research separately by ethnic group. And there's a significant lack, unfortunately, of African American participants in the studies.
Wow. So we really need.
It's very hard. It's important that this participation increases in order to really serve the African American community well.
Well, one of the first takeaways in this show is to really hit home the importance of if you're African American or even Hispanic, okay, it's so important that you do your homework and you do your research and about getting involved. Become part of the research for Alzheimer's disease because it's your community that is being affected most by this just devastating disease. We're going to go to break, but when we come back from break, we're going to talk more about the differences between Alzheimer's disease versus dementia or vice versa, and find out more about the causes. So stay with us. This is such an important show. We want you to really take away important information that will be which will have such a positive impact on your life and the life of your family. We'll be right back. This is William Paris, Legitimate Matters. Welcome back to Legitimate Matters. We're having a great conversation with my guest today, Dr. Christiane Rice, who is the Assistant Professor of Neurology and Epidemiology in the Taub Institute at Columbia University Medical Center in New York City. Dr. Rice, we were talking about these statistics in the first segment, but there's sometimes confusion when people hear the word Alzheimer's. They interchange dementia with Alzheimer's. What is the difference?
Yeah, I think that is really something which is very confusing to people in general, and that's a question I get very often. Dementia is, something like an umbrella term. So if you imagine somebody standing there like with an umbrella, this umbrella itself is dementia, just simply a term for problems with your memory.
I see.
It just simply means like cognitive impairment, memory impairment. But there are different causes of dementia. So imagine there are like 4 people standing under this umbrella.
Okay.
The umbrella itself is the memory impairment, but there are several reasons for that, several causes of that. One, for example, is Alzheimer's disease is simply the most frequent cause of dementia. A second cause of dementia is, for example, Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease can lead to dementia, to memory problems. Then, for example, stroke. People can have, in the aftermath of stroke, can develop memory impairment, dementia. And then there are different other causes. For example, HIV can lead also to memory issues and so on. So dementia is the overall umbrella term for memory impairment, and then there are different causes of dementia. The most frequent cause is Alzheimer's disease.
I see. Wow. And when a person, when I hear that, it's kind of scary because when we get older, we sometimes are not as sharp, or we feel that we are not as sharp. I have friends, and we kind of joke about it all the time, but we don't necessarily consider it to be a part of early signs of anything. We immediately associate that with aging.
Yes.
So but what I hear is that in many instances, it's not a natural part of aging.
Right.
In fact, it could be early signs of something. So tell us, what should we look for?
So I think that's a very important point, William, because I think that's something where we really need to increase the recognition in the population that developing memory problems might actually not be a normal part of aging. So we differentiate between that. It is normal that memory gets worse a little bit as you age. That's completely normal. Where really the difference is by how much, and what are really the specific symptoms.
Okay.
There are a couple of symptoms really to watch out for in order to really see if maybe there's something going on you should have checked out by your doctor. So early signs of Alzheimer's disease are in particular problems with your memory and your short-term memory. So for example, if you always went to the store to do your grocery shopping, and you never needed a list for, writing down the items, but you were always able to remember them. And that changes. For example, you realize that you go to the store and you really forget many of the things you wanted to buy, and suddenly you need a list for buying your groceries, or for example that you forget names of your family members, your brother, your son, or best friends' names, or for example birthdays, birthdays which are really close to your heart. You always knew them all your life, and suddenly you forget these things. And if these kind of things increase, these kind of memory problems, then that might be of concern. Then there are additional symptoms. For example, really misplacing things. That's something which which happens very often. So, for example, I think everybody sometimes misplaces things. You misplace your keys or something like that. That happens to everybody.
Right.
But often, like with people with Alzheimer's disease, these things also happen. Are misplaced in very strange locations. For example, that somebody might put like their wallet into the fridge or something like that, which really would be unusual.
That would be unusual, but would that be a little bit more advanced? What about something, if it's, honestly, there have been people that have asked me on Monday or Tuesday, how was your weekend? And I have to stop and think, I don't remember what I did on Saturday.
Yes.
So, and I have to really stop and put time into that. What did I do on Saturday?
That's very normal.
That's normal?
Right, so that's normal. I think that happens to everybody. It also depends a little bit on, like really where you, it's often like a concentration issue.
I see.
Or also, people's lives are sometimes so stressful. They have so many things to think about that, your brain also has like a specific amount of capacity, right? So, that if there's so many things you have to organize in your life, it's normal to forget, a few things, or, whatever. If somebody asks you, what did you do? It takes a little bit longer to think about, but the important thing is that at some point you remember.
Right.
People with Alzheimer's disease will not remember.
Okay.
It's not that like after a minute or two they say, oh yeah, now I remember what I did.
Or if you forget how to spell a word that is so easy to you, but now or in the middle of a conversation, because it has happened to me, I can be in the middle of a conversation and suddenly I forgot what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Well, that could just be my scattered brain. Don't judge. So, but I what I'm hearing is not necessarily cause for alarm, but certainly if there are things that you forget and you don't remember them, or if you do things that are completely out of the ordinary in terms of memory or misplacing.
Right. And also the important thing is also one differentiation as to if it changed. Like if, for example, today you would forget what you did maybe last weekend, but this is only today because you're really busy today. You have so much things on your brain to think about, but usually that's not the case. And maybe like in the, in the future, next week it's different. I ask you next week and you remember. It really is of concern if it's a consistent change compared to before.
Wonderful.
And that's really where the differentiation is.
Okay.
So if your memory, if you realize that your mother's or father's or friend's memory really changed and you see a consistent change, it's not a one-time thing, but it's really consistent change, and it keeps getting gradually worse, then that's something to be concerned about. And then there are additional signs we can look out for. Right. For example,
we're going to go to break.
Okay,
we're going to go to break, and then we're going to finish that, and we're going to talk about how people can get help.
Sounds good.
Okay. So listen, this is such a great conversation. I could talk about this for a good hours because there's so much to talk about. But stay with us. William Paris, Legitimate Matters. We will be right back.
I'm Bea Smith, and I suffer from Alzheimer's disease. Brain disease affects millions. Unfortunately, minorities are underrepresented in research, so we may not be getting the best possible care. The Brain Health Registry collects vital information online for free, so please tell your story. I'm telling mine. Help find cures faster by visiting brainhealthregistry.org.
Welcome back to Legitimate Matters. This is your host, William Paris. I'm here today speaking with Dr. Christiane Reese, who is the Assistant Professor of Neurology and Epidemiology in the Taub Institute at Columbia University in New York City. Dr. Reese, in our last conversation, we were talking about the signs and things that we might want to really pay attention to. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so in addition to problems with your memory, what happens also often is that people have problems with orientation to time, for example, that they wouldn't know what day it is today or what the day of the week is, but also orientation in their neighborhood and, what we call geographic, orientation in space, basically. Mm-hmm. So, for example, that they get lost, that they get lost in the neighborhood they live for, for 30 years. years,
Yeah.
or even around their house. Then also, for example, problems with calculations. They were always able to pay their bills, and are suddenly not able to do simple calculations anymore. So these kind of things, if that changed, that might be a matter of concern.
And what about the funding? Tell us about that, because with this being such a crisis, are we getting enough funding to really help with the research and the studies?
So that's a very important point, because obviously without enough funding, it's very hard to do research and find the causes of Alzheimer's disease and eventually effective treatments. So that's been a concern for a long time. The governments in the US, but also around the world, have understood that Alzheimer's disease is a public health crisis. So in terms of the funding for Alzheimer's disease, we are doing a little bit better than research in many other diseases, because the government has understood that, but there's clearly still not enough funding. So it's very important to really advocate for that, do your homework, and really also take to the streets and really, go participate in demonstrations for increasing funding, because it is not enough.
Okay, so our viewers, my viewers really need to get involved, because and become a part of the research also.
Yes.
Because the more people now, this is a guess, that the more participants you have in the research, then that justifies the need for more funding. Is that an accurate statement, or one has nothing to do with the other?
It's it's accurate. So one thing is, we need increased funding. There's no question about
Right.
that. The more funding we get, the more funding the NIH puts out there for Alzheimer's disease research, the more studies can be done, and the more likely we are to find the causes and potential treatments.
And it's better to have
that
the
of
whole-
course increases with the number of studies which are being done by good research groups. But still, also we cannot do studies without participants.
And you need
we need
families,
money,
and you need
we
families.
need we need the budget,
Right.
we need the funding, and we need the participants, and that's incredible. So to really get the word out there and explain to people how important it is to get involved in research and participate is extremely critical for us.
What about public health campaigns? Is there enough of that going on? I don't feel that. I don't hear it enough. What about the churches and the colleges? Do you feel that there's enough participation from you look on every other corner in New York, whether you're especially in Brooklyn and Manhattan,
Yes.
it's so many churches who have this influence
Yes.
on the
Yes.
community. What about them?
I think there's no question that that there's a clear interest and a clear need for participation of the communities and the churches and so on. I think what's missing a little bit is the own initiative.
Okay.
I think really especially the churches, because the African American community is so integrated with the churches, and also trust the church leaders so much. I think it's critical that the churches get involved and in, for example, information events about Alzheimer's disease, which also provides people with critical information they need about the disease, how they could get involved, the research studies which are being done, how they could get involved in that. I think it's critical that there's more effort also from the community itself to tackle this disease.
Wonderful. Well, I believe that there's a lot to be done. We're talking about getting involved. We're talking about churches having advertisement, and even here in New York, I believe that your research department will go to the churches
Yes.
and speak, so
Yes.
they can reach out to you
Yes.
in the college. I'm
Yes.
sorry, in the hospital, and there's also places that they can go in order to just do their own homework.
Yes.
What I think that the important takeaways from this show is that African American, the African Americans, and I want to just continue to also include Hispanics in
Yes.
this,
Yes.
really need to pay more attention to this. Take the time to go online and read up on these statistics on your own. Also, be the one that initiates the programs in your church or in your community to get the awareness
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Also, speak to members of your family
Yes.
and become a part of the
Yes.
research.
Yes.
Because if you pretend that it doesn't exist, you'll
Yes.
find that
Yes.
you are becoming your own victim.
Yes. Yes.
And so these are the kinds of things that I want my viewers to take away. And do you have any last thoughts before we close the show?
I think also what is important is, there's also, that's in all ethnic groups the case. There's a little bit less participation from men than from women.
Less
so
participation from men.
So it's very important that also that we also have the men from our communities really participate in research, research more than it is right now. So that's I think an important point to make too.
Wonderful.
And there's a lot of research studies going on in African Americans. There are large-scale studies going on, and they all look for participants. And it's extremely important that you participate in these research studies, because otherwise, it's very difficult to find a cure.
Wonderful. Well, Dr. Reese, thank you so much for being on the show.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much for sharing such important information. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Christian Rice for speaking with us on Legitimate Matters about Alzheimer's disease in the African American community. As we know, this is a disease that is on the rise. Right now, 5.7 million people are suffering with this disease, and it's rising. We still do not have a cure. There's new developments that are coming up constantly, but right now the most important thing is to be able to get evaluated and to slow down the process and to have certain tools in place to help not just the patient with Alzheimer's disease, but also the caregivers. As I talk about, it's so important that the caregivers are educated and that they know what resources are available to them. And that's why we continue to talk about this. It's also important to understand that as the numbers and the cases of Alzheimer's disease is on the rise, African Americans are twice as likely to develop this disease, but they're almost not represented at all with research and being evaluated. Meanwhile, you have individual families that are just being devastated by this disease. Some of the questions might come up as to, well, how do I get tested and what does the evaluation involve? In my next segment, I actually speak with Dr. Isri Martinez, also with the Taub Institute for the Aging Brain at Columbia University. In that particular episode, you will actually see me go through the actual evaluation process. It is a mock process, it is a mock evaluation, but nevertheless, it does help you to understand what's involved. It's safe, your information is completely protected, so there are privacy laws and acts that will be in place, so this is not something that you should fear, but it is something that you should that you should participate in, because, God forbid, you or someone else develops this devastating disease. It will help you to understand how to be aggressive in getting the type of care putting into place the resources that you'll need so that either you or your loved one will get the best possible care. And I want to take this moment to thank the Taub Institute for the Aging Brain at Columbia University for working with Legitimate Matters. Stay tuned. If you want to know more, you can visit our website. That's legitimatematters.com. You can see more episodes on Legitimate Matters at YouTube. And also stay tuned because we've got a documentary and a film coming up that will give you more information and education. That's why you should watch Legitimate Matters. We're not like mainstream media. We cut the fluff and we talk about relevant topics that inspire and change lives. Once again, I'm William Paris, your host on Legitimate Matters. Remember, visit my website, www.legitimatematters.com, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All you have to do is search. It's Legitimate Matters. Did you know that African Americans are twice as likely to be inflicted with Alzheimer's disease? This is a show that you need to watch. Today I'm here with Dr. Martinez and Dr. Baez from Columbia University Medical Center. Dr. Baez, Dr. Martinez, welcome to Legitimate Matters.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, this is a topic that is really, really close to me, so it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I know that you work for the research department for Alzheimer's disease. Please, Dr. Martinez, tell me what it is that you do in this study.
And we are I coordinate this study for the African American population. We have several groups of several studies right now going on for Alzheimer's disease, and I am coordinating the African American group. What I do educational events, so because we think it's very important for people to know exactly what are the early signs for the disease, because most of the time they think this is normal because they have somebody in their house that is 80 or 70s and they are acting crazy, and they said this is normal because they are just getting old.
Right.
So I'm doing so many outreach, a workshop, but at the same time I do the evaluation at home, and I am trying to help to build up more African American being part of this big important topic that is Alzheimer's disease,
So
that actually affect twice to the African American population.
Wow. So African Americans are twice as likely to come down with the disease.
Yes.
And you're also saying that the studies that you do can be done either at the hospital or it could be at home.
Yeah,
Right.
we go and do visit at home if they want to do that, because there are certain people they don't want to travel. New York City is like a kind of difficult city to travel in. So certain older people, they want to stay home. So we have that flexibility. We can go home and do the complete evaluation in their home. And we can also, let's say they want to travel and they want to have the experience in our hospital, we also can do the evaluation there.
I see. And Dr. Baez, you are part of the research as well.
Yes.
But you work in a different side of the study. Is that correct?
You're correct. Thank you so much for receiving us here in Legitimate Matters. And what we are doing also is that I'm the clinical coordinator for the early onset Alzheimer's disease study. It has been shown that there is a 5% of the population that has Alzheimer's disease has early onset disease, and that is below the age of 65. It's just a little percent, but we have seen that it's genetically linked, and we are looking for families that has this in their generations.
I see. Well, as I mentioned, my grandmother had Alzheimer's disease. I was able to witness up close and personal, what it does to the family. So today, I'm here, and I'm here to go through the evaluation myself.
Yes,
And,
we are pleased to be here.
Yeah, I want to bring the viewers in. I want to bring you, the viewers, into this conversation because, as mentioned in what we're saying, is that African Americans are twice as likely to have the disease, but they are the least participants in the research study. So here I am, African American. Here I am, a male with a history of Alzheimer's disease within my family. I'm hoping that you as the viewer will view this as a wake-up call to become part of the research and certainly to have your family checked. So I'm going to let you, Dr. Martinez, take it away from here in terms of what's next in this process.
Yes, so when we go, just want to say thank you for inviting us to your house to do this evaluation on you. We are going to go over the consent form. That's the first part we do when we go to evaluate one person that wants to participate. So the consent is just to make sure with the IRB that you really, I explain to you all of the detail about the study, what are the importance of the study, where are the blood collected, where all of the information that we collect, how is the process of that. So I already talked with you about what is the importance of we in the study, and you already explained to the public here, to your audience. And we today, what we are trying to do with you is trying to go in and see in your background, like you say that you have your grandmother with Alzheimer's. So we are going to check in your genes, and we are going to compare that gene with all of the African American population. Doesn't mean that I can give you report on the genes, specifically what gene do you have, because right now, if we do that, we would not have anything giving you that, because there is not medication right now for the disease that can be cured or prevented. Meaning, if I give you the result of your genes evaluation, you would not do anything with that. So that's why we would not give you a report on the blood.
So there's no purpose for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we also, I have to explain to you that the biological example is the identify. So the blood that we are going to be collecting today, because we are going to do three parts. One is the medical evaluation that Dr. Bias is going to be doing.
Okay.
I'm going to do the cognitive test that is going to measure your memory at your age, and we will compare that and we will score that with just like with scale we have for that.
Okay.
And we are going to draw the blood, and this is going to have a number. So that blood is very important that everybody know that is de-identified, meaning that there is not name on it. If you see here, you have a number. Like you have a number. Right now, I don't have your name here.
Right.
When you're going to sign this, you have a number. So your blood is going to go to our labs with the number. Nobody will see who are you, where do you live, what is your social security number. They will not know anything. And so that's one of the issues that most of the people encounter. They think, oh, I don't want to participate because they can use my information for so other things.
But this is completely confidential.
This is completely confidential, and we have to take care of that.
Sure.
Already. So what I want you to do, I want you to sign the consent. If you have any question, of course, I can address that right now. But I would like you to sign the consent with the explanation that I have give you. Here is like your participation and the date, today's date. If you have any question, we can go over that.
Wonderful. Well, for the sake of my viewers watching, I just want you to know that I have read through the evaluation, and I'm going to go ahead and sign. And this would be one of the first steps that we would go through before we could get the evaluation going.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
All right.
So this is the participant consent form. So as you said, previously we discussed that by phone. You read over, you have the question, but if you have any question, even during the evaluation, you can go over and we can address that.
Wonderful.
And this is the HIPAA form. The HIPAA form is like the clinical research authorization. It's like research. We are, as researchers, we have to protect your information.
I see.
So, and by HIPAA rule, we have to do that. If we don't do that, we can be in trouble.
Right.
So this form protects you.
Okay.
For us to not disclose your information with anybody, only the people, the data is going to be shared with our research people in our center.
Okay.
Okay. So, and if you have any question about HIPAA, I can answer those. But I think that most of the people know
I'm
what is HIPAA.
very clear on it. Yes.
Yes. So you just have to, and you're already read too, so you can sign here and place the date.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay.
Perfect. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to let Dr. Weiss to be with you. She's going to do some medical questionnaire and physical exam. And after that, I cannot be here, so she's going to be with you alone asking those questions. And after she finishes, I will do the cognitive test.
Wonderful.
Do you have a question?
Not so far. I think that this is very clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So thank you so much.
Right. Okay, so we're going to go to break right now, and when we come back, we are going to move forward with the cognitive
medical evaluation, and then with the cognitive test.
We're going to move forward with the medical evaluation and then the cognitive test.
Yes.
This is Legitimate Matters. We'll be right back.
Alzheimer's disease is a form of dementia specific to memory loss. 5.3 million Americans over the age of 65 are affected. Apart from memory loss, an individual's reasoning skills, planning, language, and perception are also affected. Alzheimer's is not a normal form of aging. There is no cure for Alzheimer's. There are effective treatments for symptoms that slow down the effect on mental functions. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. 1 in every 3 seniors die by Alzheimer's or a different type of dementia. Alzheimer's is one of the most expensive diseases to treat, costing $236 billion in 2016.
Every 66 seconds, somebody develops Alzheimer's. By 2050, it would be every 33 seconds.
How can you help? The caretakers for Alzheimer's develop emotional stress and depression. You can help by sponsoring caretakers through different Alzheimer's organizations. Thank you.
Hi, this is Reverend Cecil B. Stone, here on the set of Legitimate Matters. What a wonderful conversation we've been having today. Tune in and let's continue this great conversation.
Hi, welcome back to Legitimate Matters. This is William Paris. We're talking about Alzheimer's disease, and now we are moving forward with the physical examination.
So, Mr. William, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take your blood pressure, listen to your lungs, listen to your heart, and also we're going to do in the neurological examination, we're going to test your cranial nerves and your reflexes.
Okay.
So I want you to go through the indications that I'm going to tell you, and you're going to follow them.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm going to stand up, and now I want you to look here in the middle, and you're going to stay looking at my nose because this is going to move, and with your eyes, you're going to follow wherever it moves. Okay?
So I'm going to follow, I'm going to look in this direction, but my eyes are going to follow.
Your eyes are going to follow this, and you're going to go and see my nose.
Okay. All right.
So we can do like a trial just to see if you understood, and then we follow. Okay?
Okay.
You can look wherever it goes. Okay.
Did I do it right?
Yes, you did. So now
I can follow instructions.
Yes, you can. So now I'm going to listen to your heart and then to your lungs.
Okay.
Okay? Excuse me. It's okay. Excuse me. I want you to lean a little bit forward. And I'm going to listen to your lungs right now.
Okay.
And I want you to take a deep breath. Again. 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 Okay. Commonly on our physical examination, we take more time with the cranial nerves examination and the reflexes. But for the purpose of this program that you have for Alzheimer's, we're just going to leave it here.
Okay. All right, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I hope you've been following us with this examination and this evaluation with Alzheimer's disease. If you're just tuning in, this particular episode of Legitimate Matters is about Alzheimer's disease awareness. If you're African American, we want you to stick with us and follow this show because African Americans are twice as likely to come down with Alzheimer's disease than whites. The devastation that Alzheimer's disease causes in the family, it just trickles to just not the person, but family members, loved ones. It's absolutely devastating, and it is on the rise. So this is to help you to understand what's involved in the examination and why this is the disease that you should pay attention to. People are dying from Alzheimer's disease, and the number of cases that have been diagnosed are on the rise. This is truly an epidemic, and this could affect you sooner or later. Please pay attention. Legitimate Matters. I'm William Paris, your host, and we'll be right back.
I'm B. Smith, and I suffer from Alzheimer's disease. Brain disease affects millions. Unfortunately, minorities are underrepresented in research, so we may not be getting the best possible care. The Brain Health Registry collects vital information online for free, so please tell your story. I'm telling mine. Help find cures faster by visiting brainhealthregistry.org.
5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease, and another 16 million husbands, wives, children, and friends are caregivers. But the right foods may help you prevent it. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, the same foods that fight diabetes and heart disease can also keep your brain strong and memory sharp. Let's eat right to fight Alzheimer's. Visit eattofightAlzheimer's.org.
Welcome back to Legitimate Matters. I'm your host, William Paris. We're talking about Alzheimer's disease, and Dr. Martinez from Columbia University Medical Center is now about to give me the cognitive, which is the memory test.
Yes. So before we start the test, I just want to let you know that it's going to take us at least 40 minutes to finish the test, depending on your speed.
Okay.
I would like you to be focused, meaning like if you are expecting any call, I would like you to turn your phone off, or
okay.
if you want to, try to give me those complete 40 minutes as focused as you can.
I understand.
Okay. Have you ever had cognitive or memory tests?
I have not.
Okay, great. So this is a memory test. As I explained to you, we are going to do certain amount of evaluation or testing your memory. You are going to see that the memory test is going to start early, like easy, and then it's going to be harder and harder and harder. If you feel you are not doing well, doesn't mean you are bad.
Okay.
First, I will read the words, and then you will tell me the words you remember.
Okay.
Then I will remind you of the words that you did not say, and I will ask you to tell me the whole list again. That is, the words you say the last time and the ones I reminded you of.
Oh.
We will do this several times. Each time you will try to tell me the entire list, and we will remind you of the words you left out. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Okay. So the first time I read the list, and I would like you to repeat each word out loud. To be sure I said them clearly enough Are you ready?
So you'll say the word and then I'll repeat the word?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will read the word, you repeat the word after me so I can out loud, so I can be sure that you understand the words that I said. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. 3.
3.
Linda.
Linda.
Film.
Film.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Love.
Love.
Bean.
Vein.
Bean.
Oh, bin. Bing.
Street.
Street.
Cake.
Cake.
Dog.
Dog.
Park.
Park.
Part. Tiny.
Tiny.
Well.
Well.
Great. So, now tell me all the words you can remember.
3.
You have 60 seconds.
Okay. 3. Linda. Part. 3. Linda. Part. I honestly don't remember more than that.
You have some more seconds to go over, so try to do it.
Did we say any colors? No, we didn't. 3. Linda. Part. I don't remember any more words than that. I remember 3. Linda. Part.
Okay. Now I will tell you the word you did not say.
Okay.
And you don't have to repeat them back.
Okay.
Just listen to the words you haven't said, and then you will try to say the whole list again.
Okay.
Film, disagree, love, bean, street, well, cake, dog, tiny. Now tell me all the words you can remember.
Film, Ben, disagree, tiny, Linda, 3. I said Ben, street, film, and I said 3. I said Linda. That's it.
You still have a few seconds, some time left.
Film, green, Linda, Ben, street, 3. The same things keep coming back to me again.
Okay, stop. So now I will remind you of the words you did not say,
Okay.
and then ask you to try to recall the whole list again. Love, well, cake, and dog. Now tell me all the words you can remember.
Love, well, cake, dog, 3, Linda, Ben, film, 3. And I said Ben, Linda, film, dog, 3. Love. What am I missing?
So now I will remind you of the words you did not say, and then ask you to try to recall the whole list again. Disagree, street, part, tiny.
Disagree, part, tiny, street. Disagree, part, tiny, street, film, 3, Linda, Ben, love, Ben, film, love, street, Linda, 3, disagree, dog, First of all, I'm very happy to be a part of the research and the study. I hope I encourage others to be a part of this as well. It really was challenging for me, simply because, first of all, I'm a very busy person always, and I really rely so much on recording and keeping things in places where I can find them, like my telephone. I knew when you mentioned that I was going to have to memorize words and numbers in some type of sequence, that would be a challenge for me. I knew that because it's just something that I experienced. But nevertheless, I think that this study is very important, and it helps. And I don't know exactly where this will go as I continue going through the study, and I will go through the study. And for those watching, I want you to know that as much as we have to follow certain laws and practices, and that we can't reveal everything to you, I do want you to know that my participating in the study and going through this particular test is for real. This is something that I am actively participating in. It's something that I am going through to determine whether or not I myself am carrying this gene, or whatever the study will be able to determine in the long run. And I'm going to share that with you in time. This is Legitimate Matters. Keep watching, and please, by all means, get involved in the study. Speak to your family members, and if you're African American, please take this serious, because it is serious. And again, 8 out of 10, how many people? Well, twice as many African Americans are afflicted with Alzheimer's disease than whites. So I hope that I've been an encouragement for you.
You know, that I just want to add, like, many persons, when I go and visit them, they ask me, do I have to be evaluated again next time? So I always said then that after 2 years, we will contact them again. But every year, we have a newsletter where we inform them what we are doing, what are the things that have been done. So it's just like, it's not just participating, it's actually advocating for something that doesn't have right now, do not have cure, and do not have prevention.
There is no cure and no prevention.
And actually it's putting a hard time for the public health system, because it's costing a lot. And we know that in the future, the expenses is going to be triple of what it is right now. So I just want to leave that message. If you can be an advocate, you want to be part of this, I would suggest just go and do it, because it's nothing hard. It's just putting in effort, and it's not cost you anything, and you don't have to, your insurance is not being charged, will not be charged. And actually, if you have to travel, and we give you like a reward, like, you know, compensation.
A reimbursement for the travel?
It's not like a pain, but it's just like to help, because we know New York City sometimes is kind of expensive, but we do reimburse.
And you'll go to homes as well?
Yeah, and we go homes.
Wonderful.
And actually, we travel all U.S.
And you travel all over the
U.S.
So you could live in Arizona, you could live in Los Angeles, you can live in Boston. You will go to where they are.
Yes, and you don't have to have a family history.
And you don't have to have family history.
And you don't have to feel you have memory problems.
And you don't have to feel you have memory problems.
You just have to be an African American.
You just have to be African American. Wonderful. Dr. Martinez, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time to be a part of Legitimate Matters. It's my pleasure to be involved in this program. William Paris, again, this is Legitimate Matters. Get involved. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.